Hi there, my name is Mrs. Hickman, and I am one of the Spanish teachers here at West Valley High School. Mrs. Barron also teaches Spanish. We both teach levels 1, and then if you were to pursue higher Spanish, I teach levels 2, 3, and 4. So, as I've recorded probably the 47th time for this video, I'm sitting here thinking, what should I say to tell you to join Spanish? To take Spanish, to want to learn Spanish outside of just being forced to for a credit or forced to graduate from high school. Well, for me, it was wanting to make that connection. It was wanting to be able to communicate with a population of people outside of what I knew, outside of my comfort zone. And in doing that, I met wonderful people. I have learned so much as a whole about another culture, the art aspect, the musical aspect, the pop culture aspect, and just learning customs and traditions of people outside of just, my small town that I grew up in. And nothing was more satisfying than helping a lost girl at Target one time find her family because no one around spoke Spanish but me, and I was able to reunite her with her family. So I can tell you tons of reasons why you should take it, and there are probably lots of reasons why you shouldn't take it, but I'm just going to tell you 3 reasons why you should take it. 1, it's going to open your mind and it's going to open your world. If you decide to travel, I know there are a lot of people that like to travel all over the country, all over the world, and almost 20% of the entire world's population speaks Spanish. So you're going to find that it's easier to travel and that you will find someone who speaks Spanish, and it's easier to communicate to get yourself around. The second reason why you should take Spanish is because it's going to open up and access a different part of your brain, much like a musician. It's going to, according to Alzheimer's studies that have gone on, it actually helps keep your mind sharp. It unlocks a different part of your brain that keeps those memories alive, and it keeps firing that gray matter in your brain. And the third reason that you should learn it is that, according to linguists, it's the easiest language in the world to learn. About 480 hours spent to become what people consider fluent. I never really thought I was fluent until I went to Costa Rica, and some people told me that if you start dreaming in another language, then you're considered fluent. And after my 5th week being in Costa Rica, I started having dreams in Spanish, and I thought that was so neat. And if you really put your heart and your soul and your mind into it, and you really try your hardest and apply what you're learning in class outside of class, there's really no reason why you couldn't become fluent in 3 to 4 years of high school. So if you were to enroll, the prerequisites for Spanish 1 is that you don't have to have any Spanish knowledge at all. You may be a native speaker who grew up speaking Spanish, but you never really learned how to read it and write it. You just know how to speak it because it was what was spoken in your home. Spanish 1 is going to teach you the basics of Spanish. It's going to teach you how to communicate with those around you, talking about what you like and don't like to do, describing self and others, talking about where you're from, being able to discuss food, and kind of have those just basic connections. At the end of Spanish 1, you could probably go and survive in another country if you had to. You would have at least around a 4 or 5-year-old's comprehension and speaking capabilities. And that sounds bad, but you're doing that in 9 months, what it takes a child 4 to 5 years to do. And on top of that, you already are an advantage because you can read and you can write. And the communication will just come with practice and building. Level 2 prerequisite is that you need to have taken level 1. And past that, the more successful you are with your grade in Spanish 1, the easier Spanish 2 will be for you, as Spanish 2 really is just super grammar condensed. There's a lot of grammar that's going to open up a lot more conversation by the end of Spanish 2. We get into learning songs. We talk about culture. in that we watch movies in Spanish with Spanish subtitles, and a lot of students at the end of this are really surprised how far they have come. And one of the fun things about the end of Spanish 2 is that the kids actually get to write and perform a skit and act it out in front of the class with props. And it really is a lot of fun for them just to take everything that they've learned and make it really fun. I got a feel for what kids really wanted by the time they got to Spanish 3. And so Spanish 3 isn't your traditional Spanish 3 where we just focus on tons more grammar and we just, buy the book and correct and proper Spanish. By the time you get to Spanish 3, you definitely have a passion for the language, and you really have that want to be fluent and you want to communicate, because at this point, by the time you get to Spanish 3, you don't have to take it for college. You don't have to take it for credit. It's merely someone who's being driven by their passion to want to speak Spanish. And so I have altered the level 3 to really fit that for students. And level 3 focuses a lot on reading literature, listening comprehension, having conversations in Spanish, and focusing on that being comfortable to speak fluently rather than having to speak it perfectly, because no matter how much you study the language, you're always going to make mistakes. I've spoken English my entire life and I still make mistakes in English. And so really Spanish 3 focuses more on getting that voice to come up with those authentic dialogues with people, to be able to convey your message and to be able to communicate. So if you were to go somewhere that speaks Spanish, that you would be able to communicate and people would know what you're talking about. Level 4 is really just an extension of that. By the time you get to level 4, obviously you need to have taken levels 1, 2, and 3 to get to 4. Sometimes I have native speakers who are in this class. Maybe they've had the formal training or they've studied abroad. I've had some kids study abroad and they've been put in Spanish 4 because they really just need that literature piece. They need help with their writing. But in Spanish 4, this semester we're actually reading a college level book by one of the most famous authors that you'll come across in Spanish. It's Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I didn't actually get to read this book until I got to college, and I felt pretty amazing when I got done reading this. And it's called Crónica de una muerte anunciada. So we're going to dive into one of Spanish speaking culture's biggest writers, and we're going to have them read an actual book that isn't, a smaller book made for writers. He was a Nobel winner, and he lived here in the 1900s. He recently, I think he would have been in his 80s or 90s at this point, but reading books like The Happy Skeleton in Spanish 3, Spanish 4 really transforms in that, students are getting that higher level order of thinking where they're coming up with authentic conversations, and, they're starting to dissect literature pieces in another language. And so it just is really taking your love of Spanish and your want to be fluent in it to a higher level. So, I really encourage you to sign up for Spanish and see where it takes you. Whether you may not be good at it, the more you practice, the better you're going to be. And I like to find and think of myself as being a fun teacher. And, I really love what I do, and I'm passionate about imparting knowledge of another language and having empathy for another culture and just an overall understanding of something that's different and outside of a comfort zone. So I really look forward to seeing you in my class, and feel free, if you have any questions, to email me or come see me.